Hello everyone, this is GM VAR AKOBIAN with 1000 GM, and we're going to be analyzing the games from round number 4 of the St. Louis IM Norm Tournament. So this will be the recap video of that round. And the first game we have is the game between Caleb Demby against IM Solakidu Stavrula. So it's a matchup to about 200-point difference in ranking. Caleb Demby, who I know very well from the St. Louis Chess Club, and my student from SLU, Solakidu. D4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4. We have a Nimzo Indian defense, and Caleb chooses the a3 line, a more rare line, avoiding the queen c2 classical or e3, the Rubinstein. Takes, c5, trying to attack the center. e3, castles. Bishop d3. Knight c6. So this is going to get very interesting now. e6. Bishop a6. So the pawns are weak, and now black wants to play knight a5 and try to put pressure on c4. On the other hand, white is going to try to attack. You know, oftentimes in these variations, you abandon the pawn on c4 and go for the attack. Knight e8, f4. E takes f5. E takes f5. Well, another option is right here. If you say you play d5, you try to do that, then black can play d6 and try to break open the position. If takes, knight d6, and you're putting pressure on c4. Take on c5, bishop d3, d6, protecting c5, knight g3 now, and g6 protecting. Now c5 is protected, and g3, g6, everything is protected now. Rook e8, knight a5. The pressure is on c4. Rook f7. You know, if black consolidates, slowly he can be up a pawn. Knight f1. Knight c7. Okay, now black is just up a pawn, simply enjoying the extra pawn. The knights are kind of a little bit passive. The knight is stuck on a5. There is a knight that is stuck on e8. So now knight c7 comes in. Knight e3, activating and now putting pressure on c4. Bishop d3. Queen takes d3. d5. So Rakido is pushing the pawn on the center, and now rook bd1. The center is a little bit loosened. And here, rook d7. Defending the position, and now a very important moment in the game. And Caleb Demby finds the correct move here, going for g4. Perhaps queen d7 would have been a best choice, but here actually white is going to gobble up the pawns. So it will just be an advantage for white here. Okay, c5 is under attack too. He played here. a5, d4, g4. The idea is if you take, knight g4 comes in, and the bishop is under attacking here. The king is very exposed, and dark squares are weak. So this will be an advantage for white, a very strong attack for Demby. d4 was played, cd, knight c4. Okay, another option was just simply to take cd, cd, oh, sorry, cd. Maybe you want to go knight c4. This would have been another option. But he played knight c4 immediately, knight c6, picking up the pawn. And now we're going to have the exchange. This move is actually consolidating the position and taking away the danger. Knight e5 comes in. If takes, king goes on h1. That's one option. Black should be better here, but very slightly if there is. I would prefer the knights here, but very slightly if there is anything. So, but that did not happen. Knight e5, rook f8, queen e4. Now it's going to be an advantage. And it was a very important moment. There was option take and go knight d5, basically allowing the knight, let the knight hang there. Knight takes c6, knight c3. Now both rooks are under attack. Rook de1, and now simply push, threatening to play d2 here and continue advancing the pawn. And if he goes here, takes, rook takes f4, picking up the pawn. Okay. Yeah, but this is a hard move to find, knight d5. So instead, knight takes c5 was played. Now f takes c5, knight d5. And the game was super long, but I think we have good enough on this game, and the black should be winning here. But after a very, very long struggle, so it somehow ended in a draw here. Let's look at that. So they end up actually in a bishop in. Yeah, so this is the position. They end up in this position where basically, yeah, you're losing the last pawn. King is cut off on a back rank, but you're just not going to win this because, yeah, it's very important to have a check on c7. Now king goes here, and yeah, you actually get him. You actually get him in this position. It feels like you should be winning here, but there's just no way to get out of this position. Okay. All right. So this game ended in a draw. A big struggle in the beginning. Maybe Caleb was better, had some chances, but then at the end, Stavrula was actually doing quite well with the good winning chances, but it ended in a draw. Next game we have. This is a game between Yim versus Talia Cervantes, WGM. c4, e5. Knight c3, bishop e4. Now trying to take on c3, queen c2, knight f6. Now just developing. Knight d5. Queen f5, trying to get active here. And actually, if you take on f5, d5, there is cd, and white has some advantage. So I get this endgame. And this endgame actually should be a little bit better for white, according to my understanding, because you know the pawn structure is a little bit compromised. Another option is here to play d4, rook c1. Here, I feel like instead of playing a4 and giving out the square, it's better to start out with the move d4. Keep the control. If here, long castle. c6, just take. c5. Take. And knight d2. Now knight wants to land on c4. Knight lands on d4. You have knight c4 idea. So this would be a slightly better position for white. So I think this is an important moment in the game actually for him, for Yim to play the move d4 here instead of this, because now bishop comes on c5. This I'm not sure. There was probably time to play d4. Bishop e6. Now, yeah, breaking the position, takes d4. Yeah, now this is an advantage for black. Black's pieces are better placed. There is pass pawn now on a5, and that could be advanced. It also could be just simply protected after b6. So yeah, this is a very nice, very, very nice position here, I would say, for black, so the opening turned out to be good. Rook ft1, b6. Okay, that's fine, but also another option is just simply to play a4 and a3 to put pressure on b2. 92. Rook c7. Rook a7, rook c7 to put pressure on c4. a4, f4, knight g6. Yeah, this is actually a very important moment here. It maybe take d5, bishop goes on f5, attacking the knight, knight takes f6. Since there are no queens on the board, it's not so easy for black to do anything. So g4, rook f1. Knight d7 schach, knight takes b6. Yeah, it should be better for white. Position opened up, but let's see here. He played c5. Ooh, that is a good move too. Maybe, yeah, instead just take. Knight d6. Attacking the rook. Apparently this is just crushing because the next move is f5. Yeah, this is just very, very strong because the next move f5 just wins the game. But instead he played knight d6 right away, allowing ed. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, that's a big problem. Take. g3. Yeah, white was just winning here, but the turnaround was amazing. Now black is fine. Takes. Rook e3. Um, 7. Actually, just rook dd4 is fine. Just here. Bishop c5, just take. d7. If the knight moves, there's bishop c4 idea, so most likely the game will end in a draw like this. But I said rook c2 was played, but now bishop c3. Bishop c5 makes sense. Put the bishop there, now threatening to play d5, d3. And if something like bishop d3, then you just get the knight in. You got this, you got this. Bishop c3. Picking up the pawn. Yeah, now it should be a win. How did Yim save this game? Because it looks like a straightforward win for Cervantes here. Need to just get the pawns rolling. Now the question is how to push the pawns. Yeah, so it looks like the big mistake was right here. The king f6, just rook b5, put the rook on b3, and then slowly try to remove the blockade. a4, b5. Yeah, I'm just slowly gonna push. a4, b5, then I go rook down, a3. Yeah, you have to push the pawns, but he pushed it the wrong way. Now the B pawn is not going anywhere, and also the A pawn is blocked. So despite being, materially ahead, bishop and 3 pawns and all pass pawns, the rooks are too good. Yeah, if this pawn was pushed on a4, a3, then it would have been certainly a win, but now it's not. So it's a draw. All right, let's move on to the next game. The next game we have is the game between IM Wang against FM Varun Krishnan. Let's take a look. G3, castles, E5, D3. Interesting. So it's like the perk. Excuse me, yeah, it's like the perk with the reverse color. So let's see here, 97, castles, E4, C6, C3. E4, A5, A4, B6. The idea of the B6 is try to put the bishop on A6, Queen B3, Bishop A6. Now idea to play Rook A D8. So I like how Black set up the pieces here. The knight on E7 is a little bit cut off. The knight on C6 as well, but overall I think the D file is good. The bishop is well placed on A6. So he goes here. Knight D8, Knight A3, Bishop E3, Queen C6, Knight B5, Knight C5. Attacking the queen, and also there's a pressure on E4. So this was a decent move. Now Bishop C5, giving up the bishop. So Queen takes C5. Bishop Rook A D1, C6, Knight C7, and now we have Bishop C4 attacking the queen. The question is, where is this knight going? No, nowhere on D7. And then idea to play B3 at some point. B5, C8. Some really complicated lines. And at the end, there is a pawn as one, but now leaving everything hanging, knight G5 comes in, putting pressure on F7. And if you take with the rook, then queen takes F7 check, king H8, and now simply knight E6, hitting the queen and also the pawn, the bishop on G7. So that's just winning mate, or you lose your queen, or that's why you have to play queen C4. It's not the best move, but now trying to get the queens off the board. Takes. Bishop F6. Knight F3, retreating. Knight D5, I really like this move. It's a nice move here. Now the rook is under attack. If takes, knight goes on C7. You can't take with the pawn because rook D7, you will lose the exchange. Takes knight C7, rook D6. Knight E8. Trying to exchange. Bishop H3. Knight here. And now bishop takes, winning a pawn, but now protecting also the E4 pawn. Knight C8. That will allow the king to come in. Losing one pawn, but it's an opposite color. Bishop is staying here. If you go to B5, stay here and just offer the draw. And there's nothing you can do. You can't go to B5, bishop C3. There's a black place here. If you go here, just bishop just remains here. Here, bishop to B4. Yeah, if C5, bishop takes C5. Now, all right, let's move on to the next game. The fourth game, and this is a game between the youngest participant, Ryo Chen, who was very close to obtaining a norm. He just came half a point short. He lost his last game where he needed just a draw here. Let's take a look at this game. E4, E5, and he's playing a good friend of mine, FIDE master Doug Eckert. Doug is a very experienced, solid player. So let's take a look. So we have the Ruy Lopez, the Spanish game. And Doug played bishop c5 line, not bishop e7. So more active. A4, the idea is, of course, to take on b5 and open up the a file. D3, h6. Rook e1. Knight f1. Take, take. Bishop e3. Exchanging the bishops. Knight g6. So some exchanges have occurred. I mean, black is doing absolutely fine here. No advantage here, but now bishop c2. Rook e8, b4. Bishop e6. And now d4, trying to open up the position. After d4, you have some d options. You also have d5. c6. Rook a7, activating the rook. Rook a8. And here, actually, the one idea was just to take, and you go rook a1. The point is now, if it takes, you can simply take back with the rook, and the rook is very, very active here. Okay, but instead he played rook ac1. Rook b7. c5. I've take. The point of take is just simply rook c8 and to attack. So I goes here. h4. Don't want to take. Takes. d7. I would say white is a little bit better here, and you know, maybe a g3, for example. Yeah, it should be a little bit better for white. But instead, rook ac8 was played. Well, let's continue with queen a1. Yeah, this is the line with queen d8. But now, yeah, looks like just completely equal position. Okay, this is maybe not the best move because now knight e7. Queen b7 is another try in this position. If, for example, knight takes here, just rook takes b4. Takes, attacking the knight. Knight takes e4. Takes. Rook takes, and you cannot take because of the queen b1 background mate. Now black will be better here, for example. Okay, but you can probably play queen c2, knight g3. Should be equal. The pawns are kind of weak. But knight d7 allows knight e7 check. Now it takes queen e7, queen c6, winning a pawn. G3, rook c1. Yeah, now this was definitely an equal game. Just inaccuracy by Eckert, Doug Eckert, and knight king goes here. And now suddenly the rook is trapped. Can't go to c4 taken, d4 taken. Now knight d2 is coming up. Before it's under attack. So yeah, he just simply resigned here because knight b6, knight d2 is just winning the exchange. Or, well, I guess you can put a rook here, but then you have to deal with the advance of this pawn. So, I mean, still, it was kind of early to resign here, I think. After knight f3, still there is still fight left, you know. You have to go here, threatening rook c4, force the knight to, and yeah, it's still not trapped yet. Okay, it's not looking good, but it's still not trapped yet. And the last game of this round is the game between two players. This was a little bit of a short game between I am Matthias Marek against WIM Antova. E4, E5. So we have the Ruy Lopez. Now G6 played. G6 with idea bishop G7. So avoiding the main lines with B5, knight F6. So D4 played, attack in the center. Takes, knight takes E5. And this is going to lead to lots of liquidations. You can't take on A4 because queen A4 checks, so D takes. Bishop D7. Going for a lot of trades. Another option here is white doesn't have to trade everything. White can simply play the move knight to D2, for example. Knight to D2, and if bishop takes A4, queen takes A4 check. So knight here, let's say castle, bishop H6. You don't have to put it on G7. Bishop H6 is fine to put pressure. Takes, queen takes. Knight C4, for example. Takes. Okay, C. F6. F3, knight C5, and very comfortable, very comfortable position for black here. Should be just equal. But instead, Matthias decided to trade and go bishop B3. Now the idea to go knight B2 and try to have a little pull here. Bishop H6, trading the bishop. And that way also going to be able to develop the knight immediately on H6. King E2. 97, 92. Rook 88. Rook 81. Now king goes on E6. Both kings are facing each other. They're relatively safe here. And if knight F3 to try to give a check on G5, that will be simply met by F6. And black is just super solid. That's why knight C4 is played. Sometimes, you know, white can try to play knight here, just a little bit annoying idea. So knight C6 comes in just simply to prevent that. King E2, F5. And now Rook D8. Good play. Yeah, I would say very solid play here by Antova. She just completely neutralized the IM Marik here, and I guess she offered a draw here, which was accepted because there's just not much really white can do here. I mean, if takes, which is most likely happening, knight takes, and next knight F7, knight D6 is an idea. If you take, then you're giving the control of the center. I mean, this is the one way to play, and play via G4, something like this, hoping that maybe you can create an outside pass pawn. But I would say it's just equal here. 93, 96, B3, takes, E4, and the king can come in. Yeah, it's not so simple. Okay, it's not so simple here. You may think that white could be better here because, you know, possibility to create a pass, but actually it's not easy at all. So yeah, and after F5, you know, you can also try to keep the structure like this and play the move F4. This would have been interesting to gain some space. The point is now you play the move Rook D8, but in this case, let's say here, white is not obliged to trade rooks. White can actually keep the pair of the rooks. So just go Rook A1 and just start the progress here. Okay, 5, B5. Let's say 97. B6. And let's see it. Rook C8. Yeah, it's one line. It's just to repeat with king e3 and it takes rook c6. So black has some trumps here. So if you give me a couple of moves, I might be actually pressing here. So maybe taking a draw was not a bad decision here. Okay, because you really need a knight on c4 to take with this. Because yeah, if you take on b6, your knight is now well placed. I go g4, knight g6, knight h4. I'm going to have a very strong compensation. So yeah, in this round, guys, we didn't have too many decisive games. 4 out of 5 games ended in a draw, and the other game as well. Eckert was very solid against Ryo Chen, and probably should have been a draw if he didn't blunder the 97 check move, which gave Ryo Chen the advantage. But yeah, this concludes round 4 recap of the St. Louis I Am Gnome tournament, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe to 1000 GM YouTube channel, and we'll be back with you for the round 5 recap very soon. Thank you and have a good one.